Wetlands play a crucial role in preserving the overall health of lakes, rivers, and surrounding waterways. Many of us utilize the thousands of lakes and rivers in Wisconsin for recreational activities. They are also home to many of Wisconsin's plants, fish, and animals. For example, almost half of Wisconsin's birds live in or utilize wetlands for shelter, food, and water, as well as other important game animals. In fact, 1/3 of Wisconsin's endangered or threatened plants and animals need wetlands in order to survive. One might ask, what exactly is a wetland? Wetlands in Wisconsin were defined by the state legislature in 1978, stating that a wetland is an area where water is at, near, or above the land surface long enough to be capable of supporting water-loving vegetation and has soils that indicate wet conditions. Wetlands are able to do many things, but they must have these three things in order to even be considered a wetland. Why are wetlands so important, and how exactly do wetlands keep lakes and rivers clean? Pollution and runoff water from farms, cities, construction, and other activities are filtered by wetlands. This clean water is then able to enter the lakes and rivers of Wisconsin, which generate over $12 billion in tourism every year. The ability of wetlands to clean polluted water makes them known as nature's kidneys. As you know, in humans, the kidneys play a vital role in survival because they filter our blood, getting rid of waste and toxins and preserving excess water. If the body does not remove these waste and toxins, they can build up in the blood and harm our body. Similar to our kidneys, wetlands have a filtering capability. Wetlands are able to filter out pollutants, yet at the same time retain essential nutrients that plants and animals need. This filtering capability makes wetlands just as effective as a $5 million water treatment plant at removing pollutants for drinking water. But wetlands cannot do this unless they are intact. A study conducted in 2006 showed that wetlands are not able to efficiently filter if they are degraded. David Armstrong and his research team investigated a small degraded wetland called the Upper Dorn Creek Wetland, located in Dane County, Wisconsin. Currently, this wetland is being used for agricultural purposes, but historically this area was an intact and functional wetland. In the late 19th century, drainage ditches were installed in order to help crops grow in ultimate soil conditions. The group analyzed historical data of this area that showed before the drainage ditches were installed, this site was a functional, intact wetland. Then after collecting their current data, they proved that the installation of drainage ditches altered the interaction between the wetland and surrounding waterways, ultimately affecting the wetland's ability to do its job. They evaluated phosphorus data from sample plots located upstream of the wetland, in the wetland, and downstream of the wetland during large storm events in order to measure their net transport of essential elements. Just like our bodies need calcium, potassium, nitrogen, and other chemical elements, plants need phosphorus in order to stay healthy and survive. As mentioned earlier, normal wetlands are able to filter out pollutants and retain essential minerals for plants and animals. This study found that degraded wetlands was not able to trap and hold essential nutrients such as phosphorus. The amount of phosphorus going into the degraded wetland was actually equal to the amount of phosphorus leaving it. This was caused by the role of the drainage ditches. Consequently, in the study, degraded agricultural wetlands, such as those with drainage ditches, lack interactions with other major water flows. This decreases the overall effectiveness of the wetland because the ability of a wetland to function sufficiently depends on these interactions. Now that one understands how important intact wetlands are, what would happen if we were to destroy or degrade wetlands in Wisconsin? Unfortunately, according to the Department of Natural Resources, Wisconsin has lost about half of its wetlands in the last 2 centuries. How is this possible? Well, for example, your tax money goes to building roads, highways, bridges, and overpasses. Hundreds of acres of wetlands are impacted every year when agencies such as the Department of Transportation build these. The construction can cause changes to the natural environment around the project area. To minimize these effects, agencies such as the DOT try to reduce impacts by restoring project areas. Wetland mitigation is one way agencies are able to restore these impacted areas. The first step in wetland mitigation entails that any disturbance or degradation to wetlands during things such as construction requires a permit. The Department of Natural Resources is responsible for the permitting process in Wisconsin and requires anyone who fills a wetland to get permission by obtaining a permit directly from them. The DNR does not just hand out permits to anyone. Alternatives to avoid wetland loss must first be considered, so only under certain circumstances may someone obtain permission. By requiring that only if necessary, unavoidable wetlands may be impacted, the state of Wisconsin is trying to reverse the loss of wetlands. Since the permitting process began, the average loss of wetlands due to permitted projects has decreased dramatically. Once a permit is granted, the organization that will be impacting the wetland has 2 options. They can either put the wetland back as they found it, if they were only temporarily impacting the wetland, or if they are destroying the wetland completely, they must replace the wetland acreage with a similar type of wetland acreage from a wetland bank site. Wetland bank sites are acreages of land where wetlands have been created, restored, preserved, or enhanced at a given area. Therefore, in a sense, these areas are newly created wetlands from which one can debit lost acreages from projects. Wetland mitigation is almost like going into a store and breaking something. The owner will likely say, "You break it, you buy it." With wetland mitigation, if you impact a wetland, you can either replace or restore the area back to before. So with the case of wetland mitigation, the owner would say you break it, you buy it, or you fix it. Maintaining Wisconsin's wetlands are important not only for humans, but plants and animals as well. Wetlands are really important to maintaining the things we love most about the state. Wetlands directly impact lakes, rivers, and streams. These are all things we use for recreational activities, tourism, and scenic beauty. Making sure we maintain Wisconsin's wetlands should be of the utmost importance to the citizens of Wisconsin.